So Gamescom Opening Night Live 2024 did wrap up yesterday, and while this showcase overall for me personally was not a big win, there was a very interesting announcement towards the end of the showcase, which is really what we're going to be diving into in this video. But you know, some smaller quick things to mention. Little Nightmares 3 is coming to Nintendo Switch. There's the Diablo 4 expansion. I haven't finished the base game of Diablo 4, so I'm not really too hyped on its release, at least not right at launch. We got the Black Myth Wukong launch trailer, which was actually kind of funny because the game was out legitimately of the day of Opening Night Live. And unrelated to the showcase, we did get a new Sonic X Shadow Generations trailer, which I will be somewhat hyped for. Black Myth Wukong of all the games is probably the one that I will be playing the most throughout this upcoming week, but not too much in the way of Nintendo Switch related stuff, although I would argue you could take to the bank that Monster Hunter Wilds will be on Switch 2 and not the current generation Switch, of course. But Switch 2, I'm confident we will see that game announced after the system gets officially announced. But one of the bigger pieces of the showcase did happen towards the end, and it was backing up a previous rumor that was put out there from Nate the Hate, and I believe Tom Warren as well, suggesting that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle would be coming to PlayStation 5, which is a big implication for Microsoft and their broader release strategy, because while we've seen them in interviews more recently kind of warm up to the lingo of we're going to support games across all different platforms so more players can play them, they have also had very mixed messaging and talk about some big Xbox console exclusives, or at least just locking them down to Xbox and PC. And outside of some existing deals that we've seen actually completely signed, like Call of Duty coming to Nintendo consoles for the next 10 years, that's a guarantee. We haven't really seen them do too much in the way of moving massive first-party games off the Xbox and PC ecosystem in terms of their upcoming release schedule. Sure, we had a round of smaller releases that they confirmed during that Xbox Business podcast update when everybody was freaking out thinking that Xbox is going entirely third-party, which it seems like they may eventually be doing that now. But nonetheless, they tried to calm down their fan base and say it's not a full shift, but Pentiment, Grounded, Sea of Thieves, and Hi-Fi Rush would be going multi-platform. We got Pentiment and Grounded on the Switch. We have not seen Hi-Fi Rush or Sea of Thieves yet, but there is a lot of reason to expect that those will be making it over. But following this big announcement for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle coming out just months after, talking about spring 2025, in fact, I've seen some reports online suggest that April may be the launch date for this. This is a very short turnaround from this game, which is a massive Xbox first-party release, and it will be coming to their biggest competitor, which also spells big implications for Microsoft's potential level of support when it comes to Nintendo's next-gen console that in theory should be capable of running this same title and many more that Xbox will be bringing to the marketplace over the upcoming years. So we're going to get on the same page with exactly what this means for us Switch gamers at the end of the day, and specifically Nintendo's next-gen hardware, because that's where a lot of this stuff is going to take place. But before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And we have to first kick off this conversation by hopping over to VGC, where they do have a detailed typed up article summarizing exactly what was revealed here and all of the ins and outs of it. So you can see this following article, which reads, Xbox Indiana Jones game is officially coming to PS5. The Great Circle will arrive on Sony's console after Xbox and PC. The game will be released first for Xbox and PC on December 9th, followed by Sony's console in spring 2025. It was announced at Gamescom on Tuesday. We want everybody to be able to enjoy this adventure, said game director Jerk Gustafsson in a video published on social media. That's why we are delighted to bring Indiana Jones and the Great Circle to PlayStation 5 players next spring 2025. Alongside the release date, Machine Games showed off new footage of the action-adventure title, which stars Troy Baker as the voice of Indiana Jones. Harrison Ford's likeness is used for the game's protagonist. While the game was reportedly originally planned as a multi-platform console release, it was eventually announced as an Xbox and PC exclusive and a day one title on Microsoft Game Pass subscription service. In what appeared to be a significant change of strategy, Xbox first announced in February plans to bring additional titles to PlayStation and Nintendo Switch, starting with Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded. Then at Xbox Games Showcase in June, Microsoft announced Doom: The Dark Ages for Xbox Series X and S, PC, and PS5. Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer has said he wouldn't want to rule out any game coming to another platform, and it was recently claimed that Xbox is considering bringing a newly remastered version of Halo Combat Evolved to PlayStation. The one thing you do have to keep in mind with Indiana Jones specifically is that it is a Disney-owned IP, and that probably plays into some of Microsoft's decision here, because yeah, that's an expensive check to write to get the likeness likeness of Harrison Ford and the Indiana Jones rights and the story behind it, and clearly that's probably factoring in somewhere on the decision scale of how soon to bring this to their biggest rival platform, which is PlayStation. But one of the good pieces of news for Nintendo fans on the sidelines with all of this is that we're actually not only seeing Microsoft support a lot of different games with Nintendo in a big way over the course of time, and we know about the new deals upcoming as mentioned, like the Call of Duty deal, but once the hardware is capable, there's no reason to believe that anything that is coming to PlayStation won't also be coming to Nintendo Switch 2. And because Indiana Jones and the Great Circle presumably will be able to run on a Series S, as it is getting a release for that, you might have to make some graphical sacrifices, but that should be right in line with what we can expect the Switch 2 to be capable of in terms of power and performance. So while it might not be the smoothest technical demonstration of what's out there for the game, we should see some modern AAA major budget games coming from Microsoft Game Studios to Nintendo Switch 2, and that's obviously great news. We even have seen some one-offs from Sony make it over, like Lego Horizon that will be coming out later this year in the holiday season, and while that's not really Sony dipping their toe into bringing like God of War or Spider-Man over to Nintendo consoles, we are seeing Sony branch out to PC with a lot of their first-party studio releases and kind of just doing a timed console exclusive for their big IP, and then eventually they wind up on PC where you can just sell it to a larger, broader audience, and that's a good way for some of these companies to recoup their cost when the ever-ballooning cost of getting AAA games developed and pushed to market continues to skyrocket at an all-time high. There is a world where I do believe we're going to see select titles that you just wouldn't have expected to come to rival platforms ultimately come to rival platforms. I think that this Halo game that's being rumored is very much in the conversation to come to Nintendo's next-gen platform as well, and it will be interesting to continue to watch what kind of moves Sony might continue to consider as they look at Nintendo as maybe less of a direct threat to their bottom line and to their revenue that they're selling on their particular console. Like, I definitely think Xbox and PlayStation consider themselves direct rivals, but I do feel like Nintendo has crafted this space within the market where a lot of people have a Nintendo Switch, plus they have a PlayStation or Xbox, but normally not all three. Of course, some people do, some people don't, but regardless of all of that, there is a probably pretty healthy double dip mix as far as having at least a PlayStation console and a Nintendo console, or an Xbox console and a Nintendo console. So I do think that Microsoft, with viewing Nintendo as more of a partner and less as a threat to their actual console user base, we will see all of these games that they have announced support for PlayStation and more on Nintendo's next-gen hardware. And Sony, I do believe, will be more picky with this for the time being, but will naturally come around if they do see the sales start to skyrocket, as they really have driven some good revenue for games that wouldn't have given them any more additional lifelong evergreen sales on PC from releasing them on PC. So if you have a bunch of the top brass of the company discussing those numbers in a boardroom somewhere and start to throw around the idea, what happens if we release Horizon directly on Nintendo's next-gen platform, and what happens if we bring God of War and eventually Spider-Man? Like, you see how the conversation can really start to broaden. And yes, console exclusives do still sell hardware in today's day and age. Just look at Nintendo, they're the perfect example of that. You buy a Nintendo console because it's the only place you're going to be able to play Mario or Zelda hands down as soon as they're out, not to mention all of the Smash Bros of the world, Animal Crossing, and all of the first-party exclusive content that Nintendo has built out over the years. That is largely why you pick up a Nintendo console, and it's only been recently that this portable play factor and hybrid idea has been intact and obviously very successful for them. But yes, exclusives help sell your hardware, so you can't necessarily give them all up, but Microsoft seems to be tiptoeing into the direction of, while we do know they are releasing yet another piece of hardware, they might just have that as a option for how you play their games, and their broader vision does seem to be inching more close to that of a third-party software developer that just says, buy our Game Pass subscription service and stream it through xCloud on your Amazon Fire Stick or whatever you have in your home. Play on our gaming service whenever possible, and when not, we're still going to sell you those games at a $60 or $70 retail price on the competition's hardware, and that could very much be what we see Microsoft ultimately evolve into in the upcoming years. So let me know in the comments down below what you think about this Indiana Jones and the Great Circle news. Do you think that this is kind of the big floodgates opening moment for Microsoft, where they have a massive AAA game that has yet to even come out on their own platform now get announced for their direct rival platform? And do you think that a game like Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is also a shoe-in for Nintendo's next-gen console, or do you think this maybe more ties into the budget and development cost around this game with Disney being involved, and we might not see Microsoft inch towards this multi-platform direction near as quickly as what I am thinking? And finally, let me know which Microsoft or Sony IP that are out there today would you most hope to see eventually come to a Nintendo Switch 2 type console. So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.